now we're going to talk about a technique that I use a lot, use very often. It's called playing behind the slide. Now, what is playing behind the slide? Basically what it's doing is giving you an illusion, in a way, that every note that you're playing is being used with the slide, even though it's not actually the case. For example, I'm going to play these two notes. I'm going to go. Now, as you can tell, I'm sliding only on this string right here. But it sounds like I'm sliding on both. This is kind of the technique that we're going with. And it lets you do a couple things. First of all, it kind of puts you into the pedal steel type of zone a little bit. It lets you play some chordal stuff. It lets you tie your notes together. And it just lets you kind of play chords. Okay, so this is an advanced technique. It's going to take some time. It's not going to necessarily happen overnight, but you're going to learn the tools of how to get there. So the first thing we got to do is focus again on our left hand. Now, our right hand technique stays the exact same, but what we're doing is essentially taking the slide and we're anchoring it on a fret. And to use this as an example, we're going to play, we're using a lot of A, so we'll stick to A. I'm just going to play a variation of a major pentatonic scale. So only those notes. We're going to go 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what we're doing is we're going to anchor the slide on the 7th fret so that every note we play behind, it's still ringing. So the note that you play on the A string is still ringing when you're playing the D string, and when you're playing the G string, you're still ringing on the D and the A string. I know it sounds a little confusing, but I'll just play it for you and you're going to hear. So you can hear all the chords are ringing, or like all the notes are ringing, therefore making a chord. Now, we'll get a shot of this to make sure that you see it clearly, but what's going on is that we are raising the slide diagonally. So we are literally raising it. We'll make sure you get a shot of that. Because if you play a note behind the slide without moving the slide, like this, you can see there's no change in notes. There's nothing happening. We literally have to raise it. So it just takes this technique of getting used to this up and down motion with the slide. And it's going to be a lot easier, of course, if your action is higher, your strings are a bit heavier than you're used to, and be extremely delicate with your left hand. This technique requires you to be really soft. You don't want to be pressing down on the strings. You want to be as light as possible. So now let's look at that again. I want you to go through these notes, put on a metronome, and go through this formation up and down, up and down, up and down. One more time. All right, and here it is at another angle, just so that you can see the diagonal movement with the slide. Here we go. Back down. One more time. We'll do it up by the 10th fret now. Once you get that under your fingers, you're going to find it's easier the higher up you go. So if you do it in D or C, there's a lot less stretching you got to do, therefore making it a bit simpler. So use your own discretion. If you're really struggling in A, I kind of have long fingers, so it's a bit easier for me. Totally fine to do it up here. If you just follow the tab and the notation, it's going to be the exact same amount of spacing and frets. But that's basically the approach for playing behind the slide. Again, you want to be delicate with your slide hand. You want to make sure you're tying notes together and ringing them together so that you're not, you're essentially just playing what you would normally play on the guitar. You know, if I was to play that without the slide, it would sound like that. And then with the slide, as you can see, we're kind of doing the same sequencing we were doing in the embellishment, but we're doing that descending with this pattern. The more you do it, the more natural it's going to feel. And then you can start taking licks that you normally play. For example, the pentatonic style licks. The one that we played in part one that went like this. You can start playing that with your index finger now. You can go. See how I work that in there? You'll also probably see that and wonder, wait a minute, if you're using your finger, why don't you just play it on the B string so you don't have to move around so much? Totally. But this is the thing about guitar and slide. There really is no right or wrong. You can do it however you like. If we were to do it that way, mess around with all the different options. You should have all these lines at your fingertips in any range and in every key. Hope that helps.